over 122,000 Australians experienced homelessness on census night in 2021. That number jumped 50% between 2020 and 2022. Rough sleeping alone doubled. The 2024 street count revealed 2,037 people sleeping rough across New South Wales compared to 1,623 the year before. Sydney inner city saw rough sleeping surge 23%. Crisis facilities operate at 93% capacity. Brisbane witnessed tent cities sprawling across parks. Perth inner recorded 82% of homelessness service clients experiencing active homelessness. Rental vacancy rates collapsed to 1.6% nationally. Capital cities match this, while regional areas hit 1.7%. Balance markets require 3% vacancy. Median weekly rent jumped from $413 in March 2020 to $624 by June 2024, a staggering 51% increase. Low-income households renting private homes saw 42.9% trapped in rental stress. Over one-third seeking homelessness services went unassisted. Tent encampments mushroom everywhere. CBD footpaths transform into makeshift bedrooms. Shopping districts witness businesses boarding up. Public spaces become open-air dormitories. Number 10 reveals which city experiences fastest deterioration. Number 2 will shock you. We document these stories while mainstream media looks away. Your support helps us continue. Please join our community. Number 10. Wollongong and Geelong collapse under regional pressure. Wollongong and Geelong share 10th position with populations around 300,000 each. Both face mounting crises driven by proximity to major cities without matching support infrastructure. Wollongong sits 80 kilometres south of Sydney. The former steel town struggles as industry contracts. Workers displaced from manufacturing find themselves priced out as Sydney residents flee south. Median rents climbed while wages stagnated. The city lacks sufficient emergency accommodation. Services turn away dozens daily. Street sleeping increased throughout 2024. Businesses complain about declining foot traffic. Geelong faces similar pressures from Melbourne. Located 75 kilometres southwest, Geelong absorbed overflow from Melbourne's crisis. Ford ceased operations in 2016. Alcoa and Shell refineries shut down. Rental affordability evaporated. Melbourne families relocated seeking cheaper housing, pushing Geelong rents beyond locals. Emergency housing waitlists stretch to years. Homelessness services operate overwhelmed. Youth homelessness particularly spiked. Families with children present in cars. Number 9. Sunshine Coast struggles. Despite tourism economy. The Sunshine Coast encompasses several Queensland coastal towns, with combined population exceeding 350,000. This tourism region experienced severe increases despite appearing prosperous. Tourism creates seasonal employment paying poorly. Workers arrive for summer jobs facing astronomical accommodation. Caravan parks converted to tourist use, eliminating affordable stock. Many seasonal employees live in cars. Short-term rental platforms gutted permanent supply. Properties converted to Airbnb listings. Locals compete against tourists paying premium rates. Byron Shire recorded highest NSW street sleeping outside Sydney. The 2024 count documented 16% increase. 60 people sleep rough in Byron Parks nightly. High living costs and low wages create homelessness pipeline. Retail, hospitality, service workers earn barely above minimum. Median rent for one bedroom exceeds $400 weekly. Emergency accommodation remains scarce. Churches establish temporary shelters that fill immediately. Waitlists stretch to hundreds. Business districts witness increasing rough sleeping. Shopfront doorways become nightly sleeping spots. Some businesses install hostile architecture. Number 8. Canberra faces political embarrassment. Canberra holds unique position as national capital. The ACT recorded population approaching 450,000. Homelessness surrounding Parliament House creates acute embarrassment for government. Despite highest median incomes nationally, Canberra experiences significant homelessness. The 2021 census counted 1,715 people homeless. Rough sleeping increased 12%. Public servants walk past rough sleepers daily. International visitors arriving for functions witness tent encampments. Media covering Parliament regularly film rough sleepers in background shots. Canberra depends on cleaners, security, retail, hospitality staff, earning $25 to $35 hourly. Workers face impossible choices between housing and food. Youth homelessness particularly increased. Young people arriving for university discover markets beyond their means. Sharing arrangements involve 6 or 8 people in 3-bedroom houses. Winter brings acute danger as temperatures plunge below freezing. Emergency shelters open, but capacity limits mean many sleep outdoors. Hypothermia hospitalisations increased. Number 7. Newcastle and Maitland witness industrial decline. The Newcastle and Maitland region encompasses roughly 500,000 people. Coal export infrastructure that provided stable employment contracted sharply. Newcastle relied on coal mining, steel and port operations. BHP Steelworks closure in 1999 devastated the economy. Over 20,000 jobs disappeared. Workers faced redundancy with limited alternatives. The city attempted reinvention as education hub. University of Newcastle expanded, but student housing failed to match. Students competed with locals, driving prices beyond affordability. Former industrial workers fell into long-term unemployment. Housing costs continued rising. Families lost homes to foreclosures. Homelessness services struggled with demand exceeding capacity. Women and children fleeing violence found emergency accommodation full. Rough sleeping increased throughout CBD. Parks and beaches became encampments. Council move-along policies shuffled people between locations. Number 6. Gold Coast tourism facade hides desperation. Gold Coast represents 6th largest area with population exceeding 750,000. The glittering facade conceals desperate crisis affecting workers maintaining tourism. The economy revolves around tourism and retail. Hotels, restaurants, theme parks employ tens of thousands in low-wage roles. These offer minimal hours, zero permanence, barely above minimum wages. Accommodation costs soared as investors converted housing to short-term rentals. Entire buildings operate exclusively as holiday lettings. Remaining stock commanded premium prices. Workers earning $25 hourly cannot afford median weekly rents approaching $650. Sharing becomes necessity, but stretches to $200 weekly per person. The mathematics produces homelessness inevitably. Missing 1 week of shifts and suddenly cannot pay rent. Eviction follows rapidly. Tent cities established throughout the region. Southport, Surfers Paradise. Burleigh all witnessed encampments. Council orders simply displace people. Rough sleeping in CBD accelerated. Cavill Avenue Mall became outdoor dormitory. Business owners installed security. This pushed sleepers into stormwater drains. Tourism marketing portrays paradise destination. 1 kilometre inland reveals different reality. Number 5. Adelaide rental crisis destroys affordability reputation. Adelaide built reputation as most affordable capital. The South Australian capital houses approximately 1.4 million people. This advantage evaporated between 2020 and 2025 as rents surged beyond sustainable levels. Median weekly rent climbed from below $400 in 2020 to over $550 by late 2024. This 38% increase vastly outpaced wages. Rental affordability index deteriorated by 8% in single year. Adelaide matched Sydney unaffordability despite wages remaining 30% lower. Rental vacancy rates crashed to record lows. Properties vanished within hours. Inspections attracted dozens offering rent months in advance. Landlords demanded 6 weeks bond plus 4 weeks advance. Social housing waitlists exploded. Over 15,000 households awaited allocation. Average wait exceeded 4 years. Homelessness increased across all demographics. Youth homelessness spiked sharply. The 2021 census recorded 6,200 homeless. This climbed substantially by 2024. Rough sleeping concentrated in Adelaide CBD and inner suburbs. Hutt Street remained epicentre with dozens sleeping rough nightly. Indigenous Australians comprised disproportionate share. Remote community members arriving for medical treatment found themselves stranded. Number 4. Perth mining downturn creates boom, then bust homelessness. Perth stands as 4th largest city, with population approaching 2.4 million. The mining boom attracted workers promising high wages. The bust left thousands stranded without employment. Boom years saw Perth rental costs rival Sydney. Workers earning 6 figures paid premium rents. When commodity prices crashed, housing market continued demanding boom prices. Unemployed workers faced rental costs designed for triple their current incomes. Savings depleted rapidly. When money ran out, homelessness followed. Perth recorded steepest rental affordability decline in 2024, dropping 13% in single year. Property owners refused dropping rents, preferring vacant properties. Specialist agencies assisted 31,000 clients in 2023 to 2024. This represented 15% increase. Over 40% presented already homeless. Rough sleeping exploded. Fremantle, Northbridge, East Perth, Victoria Park all developed encampments. Warm climate made year-round outdoor sleeping survivable. Tent cities established along Swan River. Claysbrook Cove witnessed dozens camping. Council removal orders cleared camps temporarily before they reformed. Indigenous homelessness rates far exceeded population share. Aboriginal Australians comprised 3% of population, but represented over 30% of homeless. Number 3. Brisbane tent cities sprawl across parks and riverbanks. Brisbane ranks 3rd largest with population exceeding 2.7 million. Queensland capital witnessed explosive growth between 2020 and 2025, as rental crisis created perfect storm. The city recorded among fastest rent increases. Median weekly rent surged from $420 in early 2020 to $643 by late 2024. This 53% increase vastly exceeded wages. Rental vacancy rates crashed to 1.4%. Properties vanished within hours. Inspections attracted 50 or more applicants. Landlords demanded 6 to 8 weeks advance plus references. Social housing waitlists exploded to over 47,000 households. Average wait exceeded 5 years. The Queensland government added perhaps 2,000 units annually, while need grew by 5,000. Tent cities mushroomed everywhere. Musgrave Park housed up to 60 rough sleepers. Kurilpa Point along Brisbane River witnessed similar numbers. Roma Street Parkland, Albert Park, Wickham Park all developed encampments. Removal orders simply relocated homelessness. People evicted from Musgrave moved to Kurilpa. Those cleared from Kurilpa relocated to South Bank. Brisbane City Council criminalised camping. Moreton Bay Council followed threatening fines up to $8,000. You cannot find people without money. Rough sleeping increased throughout CBD. Queen Street Mall witnessed dozens sleeping. Valley Entertainment District saw rough sleepers occupying every spot. South Bank hosted visible homelessness throughout. Youth homelessness particularly spiked. Young people aged 15 to 24 represented largest demographic accessing services. Many fled family violence, discovering rental markets completely inaccessible. Indigenous Australians experience homelessness at rates 5 times population share. Remote community members arriving stranded. Systemic racism meant discrimination reducing employment. We track developments because someone must document reality. Mainstream outlets report statistics ignoring human cost. If this research helps you, please join our community. Your support keeps us investigating. Number 2. Melbourne becomes tent city capital despite progressive reputation. Melbourne holds position as second largest city with population exceeding 5.3 million. Victoria Capital built reputation as progressive, livable city. This image collapsed between 2020 and 2025 as homelessness exploded. The 2021 census counted 30,000 Victorians experiencing homelessness. This represented highest total of any state. Rough sleeping increased 20% between 2016 and 2021. Melbourne rents surged 39% between March 2021 and December 2023, fastest growth in history. Median weekly rent climbed from $450 to over $570. Rental vacancy rates crashed to 1.5%. Properties disappeared immediately. Inspections attracted hundreds. Competition reached absurd levels, with people offering 12 months rent advance. Tent cities established everywhere. Footscray, St Kilda, Richmond, Carlton all developed encampments. Preston witnessed protesters establishing tent city in Median Strip during Homelessness Week. Rough sleeping in CBD accelerated. Flinders Street Station became epicentre with dozens sleeping under arches. Elizabeth Street, Swanston Street, Collins Street all witnessed rough sleepers. Hostile architecture proliferated. Businesses installed spikes preventing sheltering. Benches designed to prevent lying appeared citywide. Sprinkler systems activated overnight drenching sleepers. Emergency accommodation operated at absolute capacity. Crisis beds filled immediately. Domestic violence victims faced wait lists of weeks. Families slept in cars. Youth homelessness reached crisis levels. Melbourne western suburbs ranked 10th nationally for youth hotspots. Young people fled violence, discovering markets completely inaccessible. Indigenous Australians comprise 25% of homeless population, despite representing under 2% of population. Systemic racism meant discrimination in employment and housing. Deaths among homeless increased, but received minimal attention. Hypothermia, heat stroke, untreated conditions, violence, overdoses all claimed lives. These deaths rarely generated coverage. Melbourne's progressive reputation masked failed housing policy. Victorian government implemented strategies without funding. Social housing construction lagged decades behind need. Number 1. Sydney homelessness reaches humanitarian crisis levels. Sydney stands as largest city with population exceeding 5.5 million. New South Wales capital descended into catastrophe, exposing failure of market capitalism to provide shelter. The 2024 street count documented 2,037 people sleeping rough compared to 1,623 1 year prior. Sydney inner city witnessed 23% surge. Official counts vastly underestimate reality. Martin Place tent city of 2017 became defining image. Over 50 people established encampment outside Reserve Bank. The settlement functioned as community. State government and city sparred over responsibility. Authorities cleared Martin Place, offering residents social housing. Many accepted only to find accommodation unsafe. Some returned to streets, preferring rough sleeping over roach-infested apartments. Tent cities re-emerged everywhere. Wentworth Park, Victoria Park, Prince Alfred Park, Redfern Park all witnessed encampments. Authorities implemented ongoing removal cycles, relocating homelessness without solving it. Rental crisis drove explosion. Sydney median weekly rent exceeded $780 by late 2024. One-bedroom apartments demanded $600 to $700 weekly. Rental vacancy rates crashed to 1.2%. Properties vanished within hours. Inspections attracted over 100 applicants. Landlords demanded 8 weeks bond plus 6 weeks advance. Social housing wait lists exceeded 57,000 households. Average wait approached 5 years. Priority allocation still required 12 to 18 months. Working homelessness defined modern Sydney. People employed full-time earned insufficient income for housing. Median hospitality wage around $55,000 cannot sustain $40,000 annual rent. Families with children represented fastest growing demographic. Parents working multiple jobs still unable to afford rent found themselves evicted. Many families slept in cars. Youth homelessness accelerated sharply. Young people aged 15 to 24 accessing services increased 15% year over year. Many fled violence, discovering markets inaccessible. Indigenous Australians experience homelessness at rates 10 times population share. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people comprised 2.5% of population, but represented over 25% of homeless. Rough sleeping concentrated in CBD. George Street, Pitt Street, Elizabeth Street witnessed dozens nightly. Belmore Park, Hyde Park, Domain all housed rough sleepers. Central Station became major congregation point. Business districts implemented hostile architecture. Spikes appeared on ledges. Benches designed preventing sleeping installed citywide. Sprinklers activated overnight. Security moved people constantly. Deaths among homeless increased, but received minimal attention. Hypothermia, heat stroke, untreated conditions, violence, overdoses claimed lives regularly. Bodies discovered in parks generated brief coverage, then vanished. Emergency services strained under demand. Ambulances attended homeless individuals daily for preventable crises. Hospital emergency departments became revolving doors. Mental health and addiction compounded for rough sleepers. Living on streets generates severe trauma. Access to treatment requires stable housing, creating impossible catch-22. Visibility makes denial impossible. International visitors witness tent cities throughout CBD and tourist areas. The contradiction between harbour glamour and street destitution exposes deep inequality. Property values continued climbing while homelessness exploded. Sydney median house price exceeded $1.4 million. Luxury apartments sold for tens of millions while people slept in doorways below. Sydney epitomises catastrophic failure of neoliberal housing policy. Treating shelter as commodity rather than human right produced disaster. Market forces cannot provide affordable housing for all. Politicians offer plans without funding to match crisis scale. Social housing construction lags decades behind need. Private market shows zero interest providing affordable rentals. Sydney homelessness represents moral failure of wealthy society. Australia ranks among richest nations, yet allows thousands to sleep rough. This choice reflects priorities valuing property profits over human welfare. Behind every rough sleeper exists story of system failure. Job loss, family breakdown, mental health crisis, domestic violence, addiction, medical catastrophe. Any can trigger homelessness in market offering zero margin for error. We document this crisis while mainstream media reports statistics without context. Politicians claim progress while tent cities multiply. Behind every rough sleeper sits family torn apart and life destroyed. If you found this valuable, please join our community. Your support helps us continue.